Hi, I'm Trish Worth and I'm the owner and producer of here at Waratah Pole Herefords.
Trish, where are you located?
7 k's out of Blaney in some of this high country, sometimes called cold country. We can get snow in winter, but we can also get the dry conditions that many of us suffer from through New South Wales.
What sort of an operation do you have here?
Well, I've got a stud operation and a commercial operation. All the commercial ones are in fact unregistered stud cows that came originally from Maryville, but I like to run an elite stud with the best genetics that I can lay my hands on, and of course the commercial herd then is improving all the time because the same bulls are used there as well. Well, there are about 130 females here, breeders, and it's roughly 50-50 now, but the stud numbers are going up and the unregistered ones are going down.
The stud itself, what sort of genetics have you brought onto this stud and why?
Well, coming from South Australia originally, I must say a significant number of the stud animals that came here, stud females that came here, came from South Australia, from Minlacowie and Garryowen. I've introduced the genetics from the best bulls in Australia and Canada and New Zealand, so that we really get a good mix. From Allendale and South Australia, been some great bloodlines come in there as well.
Now, family connection, history with the Hereford breed. Are you a Johnny-come-lately or is there a connection?
Oh, there's a very strong connection. When I was about 10, the first Pole Herefords came onto my father's place, 100 k's north of Adelaide, and I was the eldest in the family. I got to do a lot of handling of cattle then and just developed a great love for the breed and understanding of them, so when it was going to be, if I ever produced cattle of my own, there'd be no doubt that they'd be Pole Herefords.
What's so special about Pole Hereford?
They've got, I think a lot of people would say they've got the best temperament. They're very traditional, they've been tried and tested, whether that be Canada, the United States, Britain, New Zealand. They know how to tough it out. In the sale yards, the agents tell me while the Angus might be slightly up on the cents per kilo, the Hereford will always bring more because they're heavier.
With this operation here, what are you breeding for?
Well, around here, the agents would say we need early developers, because if we're selling for what commercial breeders want, and there's not much point in not doing that, then you want plenty of muscle, plenty of doability, early development, so that when those bulls are sold on, that's what they're going to do in those commercial herds as well.
What types of bulls do you use to get the characteristics that you aim for?
Well, there's nothing like looking at a bull, but understanding their pedigrees, understanding their background, looking at the figures. Sometimes you can't see the figures in an animal that you're looking at, but when you can, I think that's just a great plus.
Do you use estimated breeding values, EBVs?
I do. I think they're quite important, particularly with some of the sires that have been around for a while, and they've been measured in that respect in a number of herds. That's a really good indication.
It's not just bulls, but it's also cows, make up 50% of the genetics. So what do you look for in your cows?
Well, they've got to have a strong constitution, they've got to have good feet, they've got to have good udders, they've got to be able to feed their calves, they've got to be able to bring through some of that pigment that we look for. They must be culled fairly ruthlessly, but then you find after a couple of years you've got some absolute standout cows. And what I then like to do is do some embryo transfer work from them, because that can result just in the best possible outcomes.
Now, cattle management and handling. What's your philosophy here with this operation when it comes to managing and handling the cattle?
Well, I still hear my father's voice ringing in my ears sometimes. Things like, well, if a mob knows what gate they're meant to go through, 9.5 times out of 10, that's what they'll do. So we don't rush them around here. We don't want to stress them. We don't use dogs. The only dog around here are Labradors. They get handled by four-wheel bikes because that's because of the terrain. We believe in managing them quietly, and even when it's breaking in bulls, it's not the theory just take the sting out of them. we like to treat them kindly so that we get that kindness in return, and then any producer buying our bulls can be confident that they're getting a bull with a good temperament.
We're here on the central tablelands, so do you have to use supplementary feeding to get a finished product, or can you just grass finish it?
You have to supplementary feed sometimes. In a good year, we can sell cattle off that are purely grass-fed. If the going gets a bit tough, we'll supplement that with some oaten or lucerne hay.
What about genetic work and embryo transfers? Are you involved at all with that part of the improvement in the genetics of the breed?
I do like to use the embryo transfer work. We've got a really good chap who comes here and does that. I like to look at the mating predictors and think about it seriously, not just take a haphazard approach. It must be a really seriously good cow, using a good bull, but then you can perhaps use a sire that might come out of that, or you've got the full sisters. I mean, it's just a fascinating thing to be able to do, and I've found that the easiest way to improve my female herd.